Good afternoon, everyone. The April 8th, 2025 meeting of the Seattle City Council will come to order. It is 2:02 p.m. I'm Sarah Nelson, Council President. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Rink.
Present.
Councilmember Rivera.
Present.
Councilmember Saka.
Here.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Here.
Councilmember Kettle.
Here.
Council President Nelson.
Present.
7 present.
Thank you very much. Please note that Council members Solomon and Strauss are excused. All right, there are no presentations today, so at this time we'll now open the hybrid public comment period. Public comment is limited to items on today's agenda, the introduction and referral calendar, and the consent council work program. Items 1 and 2, everyone listen please. Clerk File 314511 and Council Bill 120963 are quasi-judicial matters, and the Council cannot accept public comment on these items. So if it sounds like you're going in that direction, I'm going to have to ask you to stop. Clerk, how many speakers are signed up to speak?
We have 5 remote and 2 in person.
Thank you very much. We will give everybody 2 minutes and start with our in-person commenters.
Public comment period is up to 20 minutes. Speakers will be called in the order in which they are registered. Speakers will hear a chime when 10 seconds are left of their time, and speakers' mics will be muted if they do not end their comments within the allotted time to allow us to call on the next speaker.
Our first speaker is Alex Zimmerman. Following Alex will be Bennett.
Зихайл, Doridem Nazi Gestapo fascist bandita. My name is Alex Zimmerman. I support Rami mega member. I have 6,000 days of trespass, and you 5 times prosecute me. I'm best of the best. It's no knowledge in American or human history. Yeah. I talk about agenda about ethics in election commission. This idiot, few years ago, stopped public comment. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm only one who come and talking. You know what it means. What is the reason for our public comment when only one idiot like Alex Zimmerman, who probably a brother of Trump, you know what it means, or comrades, come in talking. Guys, problem what is we have, it's not about so you Nazi pig. You are degenerativные idioты. And I talking about this for many, many years, and nothing changed. Somebody idiot here, degenerativный idiot, talks, council different now. I understand somebody who very optimistic idiot is better than not optimistic idiot. This is exactly what is I hear here, you know what it means. In another point, what was make me absolutely sick, I don't understand why you start to accept children from 5th grade. You know what it means? It's a nightmare. How is it possible children from 5th grade can deliver something belong to 700,000 idiots? It's a nightmare. Guys, what is you doing is absolutely stupid, and nothing changed for 30 years what is I hear every day, almost. Need something doing, you know what it means about this. You cannot be for so long degenerativные idioты. Supposed to become to common sense. Viva Trump with common sense. Viva America. Viva New American Revolution. Stand up, American idiot.
Okay, Bennett.
Hi, I'm Bennett Hazelton. It's a little late now, but I wanted to offer a rebuttal to some of the arguments that people made about Councilmember Rink's proposal a couple of weeks ago for a 10K private right of action if you're injured by SPD using a blast ball in violation of their policy. So at the time, Councilmember Kettle said 2 things. There's already processes available to individuals who feel that they've been injured, and those processes get the job done. And several people said similar things. Then he also said, and to be frank too, what is the impact of this private right of action in terms of the actions of individuals? Could it influence those individuals? individuals. I think obvious implying that the private right of action might make people throw themselves in the path of a blast ball hoping to get paid. Okay, like I said, it's a little late now, but for the record, these are contradictory positions, right? Because if the private right of action would make people throw themselves on a blast ball to get paid, but if you also think that the existing system makes it easy enough to get paid, then the existing system should also make people be throwing themselves in the path of blast balls hoping to get paid. And I've been to my fair share of these things, and that is not happening. And the reason is that without a private right of action, it actually is fairly difficult to get justice. So like I've told you before, I was arrested and held in jail for 2 days for a ride outside the police station I had nothing to do with. I can't remember if have I told you guys about that before? I don't remember. But I didn't get anything because there was no private right of action for that. But a couple of years before that, I was actually involved in suing some spammers and telemarketers under the Washington anti-junk email statute. And because there was a private right of action for that, I was able to get a lawyer to take it on contingency, and we got some settlements. And the reason is that having a private right of action, again, it's too late now, but for future reference, having a private right of action does make it more straightforward for people to get justice if you think a person in that situation deserves justice. But instead, we just have a rule that SPD has to throw blast balls in a bowling motion so that SPD can do one more thing underhandedly. Tough room.
That was our last in-person speaker.
A reminder to our remote speakers to please press *6 after you've heard the message that you have been unmuted. Our first remote speaker is Howard Gale, who will be followed by Yvette Dinish. Go ahead, Howard.
Good afternoon. Howard Gale, District 7. 3 weeks ago, the SPD killed the 19th person in a period of less than 14 years who was brandishing an edged weapon or had no weapon at all in their hands when killed. 14 of these people were clearly experiencing a severe mental health crisis, as was the person killed recently by the SPD. Every single one of these prior killings was declared or accepted as, quote, lawful and proper all parts of our police accountability system. As I explained in detail last week, when killings by police in Seattle are compared to those occurring in the United Kingdom regarding people brandishing edged weapons, the per capita rate is over 450 times higher in Seattle than in the UK, 459 times. And the UK is not alone in managing to not summarily kill people with knives. In Japan, despite most officers carrying guns, people with edged weapons are almost never shot or killed. Councilmember Kettle, you stated to me at your last town hall that Seattle's police officers must do what is necessary to get home alive. What a shameful standard for public safety officials. Imagine if our firemen and women adopted that philosophy. Would they rush into a burning building? In the United Kingdom, police say, quote, our duty is to make sure everyone gets home alive. We should have no lower standard. We need a full public hearing to address this cruel and unrelenting pattern, and we need a radically altered process for investigating police abuse. This is especially crucial as we are now starting a search for the next director of the OPA, with both of our prior directors having left that role in disgrace amidst substantiated claims of bias and corruption. Council members Rink and Solomon committed a few weeks ago to holding a town hall to confront this issue. Council members, are you willing to pursue real answers or simply perpetuate inhumane practices? To read more about this, go to tinyurl.com/killedincrisis. That's tinyurl.com/killedincrisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Yvette Dinish, who will be followed by David Haynes. Go ahead, Yvette.
Good afternoon, council members. I want to thank the SPD for finally taking action against that troublesome Capri Hookah Lounge in Maynard Beach. Right across the street from there is the Detective Cookie Chess Park, and I was a member of that community. Much to my dismay, there has been some white guy camping there, tent and all, for the last couple of weeks. And evidently, in order for SPD to do anything about it, there has to be a no trespassing sign, which is at SDOT's responsibility. And my question is, how do we get that done? Get the no trespassing sign up there. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our last present remote speaker is David Haynes. Go ahead, David.
Hi, David Haynes. The council never fixed the laws that sabotage the public safety crisis, the homeless crisis, and the housing crisis, and the economic crisis. But you all have improved your virtue signaling. Public safety requires noble crime-fighting skills that come from the rules of engagement that have been sabotaged by the negotiations between the police and the federal consent. Do you know how council wanted to describe the enforcement mechanisms and the operational safety requirements when they're attempting to legalize and justify hookah lounges? That was an issue from an original council member who did not win election but was appointed. We need to describe the enforcement mechanisms and the operational safety requirements when all of these so-called crime-fighting cops need to combat the evil scourge that's still conducting uncivil war in the community. Yet, why is the city council continuously deferring to the executive, the mayor, when it comes to public safety? He is on record as being the original vote and bully on the council that voted for unconstitutional police reform that exempted low-level drug pushers under 3.5 grams for crack, meth, and heroin. And then he had a say in every single police chief that has been tainted by racist woke professors who misconstrue what constitutes a criminal and is purposely following along on bad tactical trainings that allow for the evil predators to outsmart and get away with it, while the only people the cops catch up with are the junkie thieves that they claim aren't qualified to go to jail or even bother questioning to find out where they keep getting it and shut it down. Trying to activate the downtown core economy that imploded with drug pushers exempted from jail and that are destroying people's lives is an impossibility and watering down the intent.
Thank you. That was our last remote speaker that is present.
Thank you very much. We've reached the end of the list of registered speakers. The public comment period is now closed. Thank you, everyone, for your comments today. All right, moving on. If there's no objection, the introduction and referral calendar will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the introduction and referral calendar is adopted. And if there's no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. We'll now consider the proposed consent calendar, and the items on the consent calendar are the minutes of April 1st, 2025, Council Bill 120964, payment of bills, one appointment from the Governance, Accountability, and Economic Development Committee, and 5 appointments from the Land Use Committee. Is there anything that council members would like removed from the consent calendar? All right, hearing none. Will the clerk please, I move to adopt the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the consent calendar. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the consent calendar?
Councilmember Moore. Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle.
Aye.
Council President Nelson.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed.
The consent calendar items are adopted. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the minutes and legislation on the consent calendar on my behalf? All right. Agenda business item 1 from the Land Use Committee. Will the clerk please read the title of item 1 into the record?
The report of the Land Use Committee, Agenda Item 1, Clerk File 314511, application of University of Washington to prepare a new major institution master plan for the University of Washington Medical Center Northwest Campus located at 1550 North 115th Street. The committee recommends that the City Council grant the clerk file as conditioned.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Rink, as a member of the committee, you're recognized in order to provide the committee report.
Thank you, Council President, and happy to share the report today on behalf of Chair Solomon. These agenda items address the proposed new major institution master plan sought by the University of Washington for the University of Washington Medical Center Northwest Hospital campus. The proposed MIMP would increase the square footage of allowable development of the campus to approximately 1.6 million square feet of institutional space. This expansion would be accomplished within the existing major institution boundaries, primarily by increasing allowable height via a rezone. The increased height, bulk, and scale of future development would be primarily mitigated by features such as height limits for future structures as conditioned by the city, landscaped ground level setbacks, and other MIMP-specific development standards. Traffic impacts associated with future development would be mitigated by a transportation management plan with a new lower single occupancy vehicle commute goal. As background, the MIMP process began in September 2022. In March 2023, the council approved a development advisory committee to advise on MIMP development through Resolution 32088. Between April 2023 and May 2024, the Development Advisory Committee convened 16 public meetings on the proposed MIMP. In July 2024, the Development Advisory Committee published a final report and recommendation. In September 2024, the Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections published a recommendation to conditionally approve the MIMP. In October 2024, the hearing examiner convened an open record hearing on the MIMP, resulting in the hearing examiner issuing a recommendation for conditional approval of the MIMP and rezone. And last week, on April 2nd, the Land Use Committee heard and discussed the MIMP and unanimously recommended City Council approve the MIMP as conditioned. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you very much, Council President. So at this time, I move to amend Clerk File 314511, findings, conclusions, and decision of the Council as presented on Amendment A that was circulated via email to Council members at 2:33 p.m. yesterday and is available on hard copy here in Chambers.
Second.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Speak to it. Thank you. I did note in committee that I would be bringing this amendment because I hadn't had enough time in committee. But I wanted to note that this amendment adds the Urban Forest Management Plan as an appendix. The MIMP refers to the Urban Forest Management Plan and says all new developments shall adhere to the Urban Forest Plan. So I do think it makes sense to include it as an actual attachment. It also reinforces a proposed condition about preservation of existing mature trees, as is consistent with the existing tree protection provisions in the code, which is referenced here as SMC 2511080. The language is taken from the Development Advisory Committee, as described by Councilmember Rink in their final report, and recommendations, which are attached to the legislation as Exhibit 7. So with those simple amendments, I am requesting your support. Thank you.
Are there any questions about Amendment A? Okay, I don't see any questions. I have no questions or comments myself. Will the clerk please call the roll on Amendment A?
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera. Aye. Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle.
Aye.
Council President Nelson.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. The motion carries and the clerk's file findings, conclusions, and decision of the council is amended. Are there any further comments on the clerk file? All right. I'm seeing none. Will the clerk please call the roll on granting the clerk file as conditioned?
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Aye.
Councilmember Kettle.
Aye.
Council President Nelson.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed.
The clerk file is granted as conditioned, and the chair will sign the findings, conclusions, and decision of the council. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the findings, conclusions, and decision of the council on my behalf? Okay, will the clerk please read item 2 into the record?
Agenda item 2, Council Bill 120963, relating to land use and zoning, adopting a new major institution master plan for the University of Washington Medical Center. The committee recommends that the bill pass.
All right. Councilmember Rink, as a member of the committee, you're recognized to provide the committee report.
I believe I've already spoken to it. The talking points that were passed along from Councilmember Solomon's office were for the clerk file as well as the council bill. So I've already spoken to, provided the summary. So these are connected pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Nope. All right. It looks like we're ready to vote. Will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Rink,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera, Councilmember Saka,
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Council President Nelson.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you very much. And thank you, University of Washington Medical Center, for all that you do for the community. Will the clerk please read item 3 into the record? Oh, I have to say this on TV. The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf?
Thank you.
Clerk, read item 3 into the record.
Agenda item 3, Council Bill 120771 relating to land use and zoning, adopting interim provisions to facilitate occupancy of street-level spaces in the downtown South Lake Union and Uptown urban centers. The committee recommends the bill pass as amended.
Councilmember Rink, again, as a member of the committee, you're recognized to provide the committee report.
Me again. This legislation aims to help fill vacant street-level spaces in downtown Seattle by temporarily adding more flexibility and variety to the uses required to occupy street-level spaces. Following the pandemic, Council and the Mayor's Office have worked to bolster economic recovery and re-energize the city, especially downtown. Responsive to this work, the Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections, Office of Planning and Community Development, and the Department of Neighborhoods collaborated on this legislation, which intends to encourage new investments in Seattle's core to support economic recovery over the next 3 years. It also aims to better activate street environments by encouraging greater continuity of occupied street-level uses and eyes on the street. This legislation is similar to Interim Ordinance 126421, which was passed in September 2022 to achieve similar goals in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Geographically, this legislation would apply to certain areas in the downtown urban center, South Lake Union, and Uptown urban center that have street-level use restrictions. At a high level, the legislation would achieve the following 3 things. First, allowing greater flexibility in types of permitted uses at the street level, including offices, research and development laboratories, art installations, co-working spaces, and a variety of other institutional uses, including medical offices, food processing, craft work, horticultural uses, and non-household sales and services. Second, it would reduce minimum depth of use to allow street-level uses in spaces with as little as 8 feet of depth, in contrast to the current requirement of 15 feet in downtown and 30 feet in South Lake Union and Uptown. And third, it would allow greater flexibility in floor area density limit exceptions, which aims to encourage design flexibility and more occupancy of spaces on the first 2 floors of buildings. This legislation is time limited and will automatically expire 36 months after the effective date. However, uses permitted under this legislation could remain as non-conforming uses. And we appreciate the hard work from SDCI, OPCD, and DON to bring forward legislation which can help bring new energy to our city's commercial core. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Council President. I've had meetings with SDCI and others on this bill, and one of the challenges that we have downtown is activation, and particularly ground floor activation of businesses. And this bill within downtown, capital D downtown, South Lake Union and Uptown, is right in the core of District 7, and as District 7 representative, I wanted to express my support on it and show support to those communities, those neighborhoods that are feeling the effects of not having this full activation, because it does play out in many ways. So thank you, Council President, and I do support this bill.
thank you for the perspective of the district representative. That's important. Are there any other comments? I would like to just note that this legislation has been before council for a while now. I believe that it came to land, I don't remember when it came to land use or whether or not, and when the first discussions were. When I first heard about it or learned about it, I did have some questions, because when you think about street level uses, one of the things that is really unique about Seattle's downtown is, and makes it such a vibrant place to walk around and stroll and attract visitors, are the small businesses at the street level. Those small businesses, however, do, it is difficult to, the whole building actually ends up partially subsidizing that business being there, because that is very expensive space. But the point is that I was concerned that, well, if we allow for different uses at street level, will there be enough, space for small businesses to occupy that are thinking about bringing their business downtown? And so I did talk with, and I did ask the committee back then, and I think SDCI, I believe, whether or not there had been outreach to small business organizations like BIAs and chambers. What does DSA think, et cetera? So I understand that in the interim time that, well, prior to transmitting that legislation, yes, there had been outreach to small business organizations, and there wasn't loud opposition or even quiet opposition, and that since then there has been continued conversation. So my initial concerns had been allayed. Really, ultimately, what we have to do in downtown is ensure that we create the conditions for people wanting to come downtown, and that means public safety and also an attractive streetscape. Bottom line is that if we do nothing, we have the status quo, and so what's most important ultimately is bringing more people downtown, and this change of street use space, if it is the thing that attracts more businesses to a whole building, or more, or nonprofits or whatever. If it attracts more life to downtown, then I'm all for it, and I'm glad that we are proceeding with the vote today and giving some certainty to existing and potential business building owners and managers for what is the plan for streets downtown. Okay, if there aren't any other questions or comments. All right. Needless to say, in the end of my comments, I just wanted to say I am fully supportive of this. All right. Will the chair please call the roll on... Do I have to... What? Oh, okay. Right. Will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Council President Nelson?
Aye. The bill passed. The chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? And will the clerk please read item 4 into the record?
The report of the Transportation Committee, Agenda Item 4, Resolution 32166, granting conceptual approval to install, maintain, and operate a pedestrian skybridge over and across 8th Avenue North of Cherry Street, as proposed by FHLLC, doing business as Skyline in the First Neighborhood. Committee recommends that the resolution be adopted.
Councilmember Saka, as chair of the committee, you're recognized to provide the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Council President and colleagues. Resolution 32166 would grant conditional approval for a skybridge across 8th Avenue between Columbia and Cherry Streets. The west side of the bridge would be in Council District 7, and the east side of the bridge would be in Council District 3. It's one of those unique bridges that crosses 2 council districts. The skybridge would bridge 8th to connect the 2 towers of the Skyline retirement community. The city's skybridge regulations generally discourage and disfavor skybridges. However, exceptions are sometimes made in order to provide for heightened accessibility for the elderly and certainly in certain differently abled communities. This skybridge is needed for residents of Skyline to visit each other and use the community's facilities safely, travel efficiently and effectively to their neighbors and have appointments and all those things and more. Public benefits associated with the skybridge include open space improvements, public art, and pedestrian improvements in the surrounding neighborhood. Now, if the council approves Resolution 32166, this resolution before us today, SDOT would work with Skyline on final documents granting the skybridge, which would ultimately boomerang back to us, come back to council as a council bill. So again, this is a resolution. Now that process includes final permitting from SDCI and other city agencies, negotiating terms of approval, including insurance and indemnification requirements, and recording a property use and development agreement, committing to maintaining the public benefit elements indefinitely, and may take between 6 and 12 months. So, Madam Council President, you asked about the typical time frame. I gave you a rough initial estimate of a few months to a few years, potentially, depending on the project. And for this, the estimation is between 6 and 12 months. Now, the Transportation Committee unanimously recommends that the council adopt the resolution before us today. And I'll just add some additional color commentary, 2 cents, if you will, onto this specific proposal. In a year plus or whatever the limited time that I've had the pleasure and privilege of serving as transportation chair, we routinely go through and consider any number of things like this, permits, vacancy, like this is the nuts and bolts, bread and butter, if you will, of our committee. Outside of some of those exciting Seattle transportation plan or levy or Vision Zero or traffic safety camera enforcement things that we consider from time to time, this kind of thing is a routine course of business in the Transportation Committee. And out of the year plus that I've been serving as chair, I have not seen the amount of strong and overwhelming community feedback and support for us to take action and approve at this stage compared to any of the other, similar requests that have come up. And the community members showed up and organized. It was very clear it was grassroots organizing. No one responded to an action alert. It was a grassroots effort because they care and they need this. And so, again, the committee unanimously recommends that council adopt this resolution, and I urge your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Transportation Chair Saka. I do want to second your point about the great Skyline community, who are a boisterous crowd, well organized and well reasoned for their request to have a sky bridge. I did want to say, we should not generally be encouraging the sky bridges for different reasons. But for me, when there's a healthcare piece to this, kind of like what we see on First Hill generally, and this is located in First Hill, that we make that allowance because of the medical healthcare aspect of it. And that is resident here in the Skyline community between the Cascade building and the Olympic building. And because the facilities are on one side, but oftentimes, and people don't realize this, you have spouses who are living there, but then have to go over to, say, a memory care treatment or care, I guess I should just say, on one side, and then they're split. And this is a very difficult situation, and that one that we should not be separating. We should be joining them back together. And again, for that reason, that's my primary reason for supporting this. But I also want to thank and appreciate SDOT's interaction and work on this because we started off at the very beginning with this request, but they've joined in, and this is where the public benefit comes in. There's going to be different improvements on First Hill. In terms of intersection improvements, improvements along 8th, and then there's the loop, walking loop. That is a new thing, and I definitely support that piece because that's a definite public benefit. It's similar to Market to Mohi, but from that location down to Yesler and back. And so, again, great public benefit, but most importantly, it's to support the community, particularly when it relates to medical health care provisions there at the community. And I do want to say that I'm not being parochial, but the Olympic building is definitely the best part of the Skyline community. The fact that it resides in the D7 part has nothing to do with it. Councilmember Hollingsworth, do you have anything to add?
Am I recognized, Councilman?
Yes, you are.
After that remark, I had to say something. I was just going to let it go. Councilmember Saka said his piece, and Councilmember Kettle said his piece. But being the competitive person I am, people eat in District 3 tower. So I just wanted to throw that there, that if you didn't have our bridge, you all would go hungry in the Olympic Tower. But anyways, thank you. Obviously, this is really important to the community. And just to tag on to what everyone said, I know this is, would love everyone's support, but also thanking Doug Palmer, who is the chair of the Skybridge Committee at Skyline. So thank you all for your help, and looking forward to everyone's support. And thank you to the chair of the Transportation Committee for adding it on the agenda. So thank you, Chair Saka, and then obviously for the partnership with Councilmember Kettle. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add, and I voiced support in briefings yesterday, but if you say Skybridge, it brings up as much as maybe it can get controversial, just like alley vacation, et cetera. But one thinks of a long process for approval and a lot of different perspectives, et cetera. But this is not that case. When presented with the rationale for the need of it, of course, I was fully supportive and have been looking forward to our steps to move the project forward. I have to say that, yes, you're right, that what I remember from that briefing is that it's not just that you might be that a couple could be separated by progressing needs, but clearly there are different functions on both sides of the facility, and so therefore it is important that we have to facilitate community and people being together. And so I was conceptually all in, and then I was invited to give a talk about something, or just basically meet folks at Skyline, and I went there, and when you experience the speed with which cars drive up and down that street, you recognize how hazardous it really is for anyone, no matter how abled, to get across that street safely. So this makes shepherding this through to us today, Councilmember Saka, and you have my support. Will the clerk, unless there are other comments, will the clerk, do you want to say anything at the end? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka. Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Aye.
Councilmember Kettle.
Aye.
Council President Nelson.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed.
The resolution is adopted, and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Okay, there were no items removed from the consent calendar, and there is not a resolution for introduction and adoption today. So, is there any further business to come before the council? Okay. Councilmember Ring.
Thank you, Council President. I want to acknowledge something, just given that we voted on some legislation in the clerk file today related to the University of Washington. And so I wanted to take a moment to just acknowledge some of the news also coming out of today as it relates to some of the students at the University of Washington. 9 UW students, 5 current students, and 4 recent graduates had their visas revoked without prior notice to the university, the university or the students. And now we've seen nationwide 150 students have lost their legal status. This is a deeply troubling piece of news for our community. I know the university is a state agency, a distinct entity, different, not under the purview of the city. I know that I used to work for the university. But the university community is a part of our city. It is a lot of space within District 4 and shows up and has space across our entire city. It's one of the largest employers in our state. Many UW employees are researchers whose research is funded by federal grants, which are also now on the line, meaning more of our residents are looking at becoming newly employed potentially. This paired with the trade war, all market indicators seem to be pointing towards a recession. People are worried for their jobs, paying their bills, and whether or not they can retire. And we cannot normalize what is happening, which is why I will keep speaking out and recognizing what is going on, but I also recognize that it is not enough for this body to just talk about the issues that are happening. We need to take action for the sake of our residents. Our city revenue forecast is coming out on Thursday, and that will certainly be instructive about what we'll be dealing with for this year. But I wanted to take a moment to name some of these things. Again, name that what is happening is not normal for us, and that there's a lot of folks in our community that are certainly concerned about what is going on, and rightfully so. And recognize that we have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but certainly want to work in partnership with everyone a part of this body and with all of our partners across the city as we weather this time. And with that, thank you for allowing me to add some comments on that.
Thank you for speaking. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Council President. I actually wanted to thank some workers, actually. Probably many of us didn't know that this week was National Library Week, and that today is actually National Library Workers Day. And I know that this body very much appreciates our librarians and our library workers and all the hard work that Chief Fay and his team are doing at Seattle Public Libraries and all the libraries across the city. And I really wanted to take the minute to recognize our librarians and our library workers and thank them for all their hard work, particularly in the midst of all the chaos and the stress that everyone is feeling at the moment. And of course, there are a lot of visitors to our libraries who are going there for respite, and our librarians do such a great job at helping anyone from our kids all the way up through grown-ups, and then also, though they are not social workers, are often put in situations where they are providing referrals to services to folks. So I really just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the librarians and the library workers in our libraries, and to really give that recognition to Chief Fay and all his great folks at Seattle Public Libraries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Anybody else? Okay. Seeing as I'm not hearing any other business, we've reached the end of today's agenda, and our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting is on April 15th at 2 p.m. Hearing no further business, we are adjourned, and it is 2:46 p.m. Thank you, everybody.